Hey, thank you for watching this video recording. I know this is a little different for our church, but at the same time, it's sometimes really hard to get everybody together. So I kind of thought this might be kind of a neat way to shoot it out there on cyberspace by doing a screen recording of kind of what's expected for greeters and the hospitality ministry of our church. And I want to begin by just saying thank you for being willing to be a greeter and to help with hospitality or guest services at our church for this upcoming season of serving. And I pray that God will really use you and bless you. I hear all the time that people say that our church is a very friendly church and that they are loved and welcomed when they come. And I just think that's absolutely amazing. And that's because we have such a great greeting ministry at our church. And as you come along this upcoming season of serving to be part of the ministry of greeting and hospitality, I want to say again, thank you, because I know God's going to use you, and I can't wait for you to use your gifts in that way. This might take just a few minutes to go through, but I want to encourage you to watch it in its entirety and to maybe take some notes, learn a little bit about the ministry of greeting and hospitality. Okay? Let's talk real quick. Why have greeters to begin with? Why do we have greeters in the church? Why are we doing this? Well, let's ask the question, have you ever been to Walmart? Well, we have two Walmarts in this city, in Owensboro. So you have been to Walmart. You may have already been to Walmart this week. I know that I have. So Walmart's got everything we need. But have you ever noticed that Walmart, every time you come in, you're greeted by somebody? That there's somebody there that says, "Welcome to Walmart," and they're there to help you to get where you're going. If you need to return something, or even if you're just coming in, they say hi to you. Companies actually hire people to be greeters. That's actually a job. Greeters at Walmart are actually paid money to say hello to people. Seems like a pretty sweet job. It's not bad at all, but yeah, companies actually do that, and that person they feel is very, very important. They feel it's a very important role for them to have because that person will welcome, direct, and assist however they can. If you come in with a return, they're going to take you over to the customer service desk or give you a sticker so it can be identified as a returnable object. Or they just want you to be welcomed and greeted. See, companies believe that greeting actually brings people back. So not only are you welcoming them in, if the experience is pleasant, then Lord willing, what they'll do, they will come back and they will keep giving their business to that company, and they will keep coming back because it's a friendly place. Now I want you to think about something else really quick. Have you ever been to a church with no greeters? Now, not a store like Walmart or Target, but a church with no greeters. I have. I've preached in several churches where I was the guest speaker, and I showed up maybe like 30 minutes before the service started. I walked in. I didn't know where I was going. I didn't know where to sit. I didn't know if the church had Sunday school. I didn't know where to go to Sunday school at. And you may have done the same thing. You may have went to a church, somebody invited you, and you might have got there at 11 o'clock, and they had a 10 o'clock Sunday school hour, and you walk in there, and there's nobody in there, and you're kind of looking around, you're like, what is going on? And so you just kind of sit, and you think, hey, is anybody here? And you maybe felt awkward, you felt unwelcomed. You might see somebody like walk across the room, or a group over there, or a group over here, but no one is really saying anything to you. And if you're like me, I have 3 little girls, and you got your kids, and they're pulling each other's hair, jumping everywhere. You don't know where to take those kids. You don't know what to do with those kids. No one's told you if there's a nursery or not. You don't know if it's a safe nursery, if it's a clean nursery. And Lord forbid if you accidentally sit in somebody's seat, because that place will have people in there eventually. Most of them will, and there you are. They were in Sunday school, and they all come marching out, and everybody just takes their seat, and you might be sitting in Grandma Gertrude's seat, and she'll let you know about that. I've actually had that happen. They'll say, young man, you're in my seat. And I say, well, here you go. You can have it back. And you know what? Whenever that happens, you probably were like me, and you were ready to get out of there. You know, you were ready for the service to start and end, to get back in your car for you to head out of there. So, yeah, a church with no greeters is kind of a serious thing. Every church has what I call a pre-service before the service begins. A pre-service before the service begins. Now, I know that might be a new term if you're watching this for the first time, or you've never heard that term before. But let me define the pre-service. This is the time that people are arriving before the actual worship service begins. Now note, it's before they get there. So the pre-service actually sets the entire tone for the worship service. Okay? So this is not the worship service. This is the pre-service. It is the time before church starts. So if you get there at 10:30, it's the time between 10:30 and 11 o'clock. It is what I call the pre-service. Now think about it. That pre-service is really, really important for how the worship service begins. For example, you know, at our church we have music playing through the computer. And I can tell you the Sundays that the computer has messed up or not worked right, and we didn't have that pre-service music, it was awkward and it was strange. See, no soft background music, it equals everyone talking low or not talking at all before the service. If you have music playing, people talk. It livens them up. It makes them happy. And they go into the worship experience, you know, smiling and talking. And even if the music is a little bit louder in the pre-service time, that's actually okay, because it makes people raise their voices a little bit when they talk. I mean, they shouldn't be shouting over each other, but they're not talking like this. And that's a good thing. See, the quietness of the pre-service, it equals awkwardness and uncomfortableness to guests. So if the pre-service experience is bad, they're uncomfortable. They don't like it. This is not a connecting, caring, changing church. That's our church motto. So no one's really caring if I connect to God, or I'm cared about, or if I'm making a difference in the world. It's just weird. It's just uncomfortable. And what happens is when the worship service begins, if people are not in a joyful spirit, the uncomfortableness equals sad singing. And that is absolutely demoralizing to a worship service if no one is singing or worshiping, or they're afraid to sing, they're afraid to lift their hands up. It just hinders everything in the worship experience if they enter that in kind of an uncomfortable or awkward mood. So understand this, that a bad experience at church has consequences. It really does. People thought it was weird. I've been to churches that I thought was weird. And I just don't want people to walk out of Life Community saying, that was a weird place. People thought it was unfriendly. You know, no one said hi to them. No one welcomed them. You know, I was there for 30 minutes before church started. Nobody came over and said hi to me. Nobody sat next to me. Nobody got to know my name. Those people were all talking to each other, but they weren't talking to me. It was unfriendly. And the sad part, the really tragic part, is that will absolutely spread in the community. People will tell other people that it's weird and unfriendly. Now you think about that. If the pre-service is awkward and uncomfortable, they will tell their friends and their family that it was weird and uncomfortable and unfriendly. So your church begins to get a reputation in the community for not being loving. And here's the worst part. People will not come back. Studies show that people make up their mind about the church within the first 10 or so minutes after leaving their car. Now think about that. Their foot hits the ground. You only have a certain amount of minutes to connect with them and to engage them before they've made up their mind. Now understand, that's before the worship has begun. It's before the preaching has begun. It's before the invitation has been given. The tone of the pre-service speaks a powerful message to people. If they are feeling uncomfortable, awkward, it's an unfriendly church, that sermon will preach louder than the sermon that the pastor gives. And here's something that's really scary. What if the person who does not return is lost? What if they don't know Jesus? And now they've come, they've given church a shot. Somebody invited them and they came, and then nobody was friendly to them. Nobody loved them. Nobody reached out to them, connected with them, gave them a cup of hot coffee, made them feel welcome. They just came in and sat down, and nobody went over there and started a conversation with them. And they never came back. They never made a decision to follow Christ. Man, what if that decision was based on the pre-service? So, how do we better the pre-service? That's a good question. We must see greeting and hospitality as a ministry. Did you catch that? As a ministry. Not a job that we're doing, not a volunteer act that we're doing, but a ministry. Romans 16:16 says, greet one another with a holy kiss. So the New Testament churches are to be friendly and welcoming places. The ancient believers would greet each other with this holy kiss when they came in, and they would welcome each other and greet each other and make sure that they knew they were there. So how do we greet one another at Life Community with a holy kiss? Well, first I want to tell you really quick, keep your lips to yourself at Life Community Church, okay? So I don't actually want you smooching people when they walk in the door. Talking about uncomfortable and awkward, walking into a church where a big burly dude is handing you a bulletin and then smacks one right on your forehead and you've met him for the first time, that's a little weird, okay? So what do we mean by holy kiss? I'm sure it was totally different in the ancient world, but now let's not be kissing everybody that walks in the door. So what do we mean by holy kiss, all right? Well, greeters, let's talk about greeters first. Greeters set the tone for a good pre-service. You need to beat the people to church. So you need to be there before they get there. They start coming as early as 10:30 or 10:20. So if you're not there as a greeter at around 10 o'clock, you may have missed somebody coming in. I'm always amazed in the pre-setup time that there are always people coming in, and we just don't want them to feel awkward or strange. So make sure you get there around 10 o'clock if you're a greeter. Greet people as soon as they exit their car in the parking lot. You may want to stagger out the greeting. Have some by the door, have some in the parking lot. Grab somebody that's not doing anything on a Sunday morning that's there and they're just kind of standing around. And if you're a greeter that day, say, hey, I need you in the parking lot to greet people. And just, you don't have to, as soon as they open their car door, run and just say, welcome to Life Community Church, because that might make them get right back in their car and leave. But just kind of stand around. Don't be weird. Don't be awkward. Just say, welcome to Life Community Church. If it's raining, get, very politely, take your umbrella and just walk them into the church. Open doors for those who come. That's kind of a powerful thing when you open the door for somebody and you just say, welcome. That's nice. Everybody likes to have the door open for them. If they have family, walk their kids and them to kids check-in. They're uncomfortable. They don't know where to put their kids. They don't know if where their kids are going. So instead of saying, hey, kids check-ins around the corner for nursery and kids church, say, hey, listen, won't you walk, grab somebody if you're at the door and say, hey, Joe, take this family down to kids check-in and get people involved. Physically shake their hand. Physically shake their hand. Shake their hand first and then hand them a bulletin. Because if you hand them a bulletin and shake their hand, they don't know what to do with the bulletin. So shake their hand, hand them a bulletin. And then stay outside for 5 minutes past the beginning of the worship service to help with latecomers. If you're running late in the church, you already feel awkward and uncomfortable because you know that you're going to walk in, everybody's going to see you, and you're late. You know that. Nobody needs to tell you that you're late. You know. But if you're there at the door and they're walking in late, you say, man, we're glad to have you. We don't care you're late. Come on in. We love you. So just make sure that you stay 5 minutes past the beginning of the worship song, the beginning of the worship service, because you want to do that. You want to welcome them. Now, hospitality team, and the guest setup crew. Listen to this, or the hospitality team and the guest services. Listen to this. You actually not only minister to first-time guests, you actually minister to the setup crew too. The setup crew gets there about 7:30 on Sunday mornings. They unload the trailer. They set up everything. And so when you are on the hospitality team, you need to come and not only welcome and be there for new guests, but to also be there for our setup crew. You need to arrive at 8 a.m. if you're on the hospitality team. Okay, these are those making coffee and that sort of thing. So you get there, you set up the guest service table, you get out the coffee pot, you clean the coffee pot, make sure it's all clean, it's all good, and you get all that set up, looking nice. Get the supplies out. You can also maybe pitch in and help with setup in various areas. The more manpower, the better. And that crew that gets there at 7:30, unloading all that stuff, hey, it is very nice that they have a cup of hot coffee waiting for them. At our church, we have 2 carafes and just an actual pot of coffee. We an actual just small little coffee pot. Get that coffee pot started first because it makes it faster than the bigger ones. So the setup crew can have some coffee. And just keep a watchful eye on the coffee and supplies and services begin. Make sure that the setup crew hasn't drank all the coffee, okay? Because that kind of defeats the purpose of offering coffee to people that come in. So we want the setup crew to have coffee. We want them to be blessed. But we also want that little area to look nice. And, you may want to just pour it for them, be there, smile, welcome them. That's a great ministry the hospitality team has. Guest services is crucial. Now, at our church, guest services are those that sit behind a table. Some churches call them a newcomer table or a first-time guest table or a visitor center. But the guest service table is how newcomers find out about the church. The table has informational material on it and first-time guest gift packets, okay? This table needs a person behind it beginning at 10 a.m. and as soon as the offering is taken at the end of the service. We do our offering at the end of the service. So you need to be there at around 10 o'clock sitting there if you're on guest services, welcoming people, loving them, talking to them. If you see a new person, say, hey, come over here. I got a guest. I got a packet for you. I want you to have this. And make sure there's enough Bibles there. Say, hey, do you have a New Testament? No, I don't have a New Testament. Well, here's one. Take a New Testament. So when Kenny's preaching today, you can have a copy of the Word there with you. And just love on people. Just make them feel welcome. And they're going to come and kind of just like nonchalant and look at stuff, not really knowing what to do. But you just make sure that you feel welcome. And then when the offering is taken, go back there and sit there and be ready to receive them, okay? Just be ready. And when people are walking up, make sure you talk to them and you engage them. If working with guest services, make sure you identify new faces and encourage them to pick up a guest packet. Okay, so here's some closing thoughts. Be mindful of the doorway clogging, okay? Make sure guests don't have to walk through a mob. Now, it's so awesome to have all kinds of people out there, but give everybody a job. Station them from the door to the parking lot so they're not just all standing there. If you're a first-time guest and you got to walk through a crowd of people, that might be really uncomfortable. Now, if you're in a Sunday morning life group, or like some churches have Sunday school, but if you're in a Sunday morning life group at our church, excuse yourself early enough to be greeting by 10 a.m. Remember, the pre-service is incredibly important. And also remember that hospitality doesn't end after the service begins. So help clean up, put away, and most importantly, identify new guests and thank people for coming. Okay? Finally, if greeting and hospitality is a ministry, see yourself as a minister on Sunday morning, because your smiling face may be enough to soften a heart to be saved. I think that's the key to all this, is that God is using you to show the love of Jesus to people that come into our church. And that's not a canned love or a superficial love. That's who we are, loving people. So I want to encourage you to do that, just to love people and to smile. Your ministry is so important. And again, I want to thank you for being a greeter and a hospitality worker or a guest service worker at our church. I can't tell you how many people have come to this church and have accepted Christ, and what they said was, this is a friendly church. And I think that's wonderful. Let's keep that reputation. And and I have one more closing thought for you. If you can't smile, you may not need to be a greeter, okay? If you don't know how to smile and you yell at people all the time, greeting may not be your bag, okay? But make sure you show love and bless people. Thank you so much for watching this training, this resource, and I pray that God will bless you. Thank you for serving and at Life Community Church, and I pray the Lord blesses you.